I can't be the first speaker who's been invited here to not think it's slightly weird to be asked to talk in a library. But anyway, as Mrs Devonshire commented, this is possibly the second time I've been in the library, which I thought was a bit unkind. But anyway, I've had quite an unusual career in that I worked in advertising for about 14 years or so and had an opportunity to go from working in an agency to working for a big corporate client, which at the time was something I really wanted to do, and it was to help Yellow Pages create a thing called Yell.com, so it seemed like it was a really socially significant thing to do. And when I got there, I found that having come from a very dynamic, creative environment, I didn't really fit that well into a corporate environment. And so in order to survive that, and they did try to kill me, I felt compelled to, rather than just leave, I felt compelled to find a vehicle for my creativity and my entrepreneurship. And so I started on a journey of creating my own companies while simultaneously working for a big corporate. And since 2000, I've managed to navigate both paths simultaneously. So some people play golf. I kind of do business. That's what I like doing. It's not because I'm a workaholic. It's something I just genuinely really enjoy doing. And some of those businesses have been phenomenally successful, and if I sound surprised, it's because I am, and it's been an amazing journey. I've had the privilege of working with some phenomenally talented people, and really that's one of the reasons why I get compelled to come to events like this, because I want to share with you the insights that I've learned from them. In fact, I feel slightly obligated to do so. Having created, we actually pronounce it Wayra, but it doesn't matter, it's good enough. Having created Wayra for Telefonica, we built 7 fantastic academies in 5 countries across Europe. We, as a team, my team vetted applications from 15,000 early-stage digital ventures, in which Telefonica invested in 234. That investment fund now is worth more than 400 million euros. It's done very well. By virtue of that, I've had the privilege of the unique kind of perspective with which to observe the repeat behaviours of successful entrepreneurs. And it's really that insight that is the thing that I'm kind of keen to share really more than anything else. Today, I don't work for Telefonica anymore. I exited a year ago very happily. I now have my own portfolio of ventures, some of which I started. Some of them I'm involved in the creation of them. Others are businesses that were started by somebody else, and I'm helping them on their journey. And others are massive corporates that are in the sort of billion revenue level. So it's a really eclectic mix of non-exec directorships and board advisory roles. There are some things that unify them, so they're all digital. They all have the opportunity of exponential growth. They're all mission-led businesses, so they're not social ventures, but they're all businesses that have a very kind of clear purpose in society. And with one notable exception, they're all working with founders who I love and adore. There's always one that's just a bit, anyway. Can't talk about that one. But anyway, anyway, I won't give any clues. So with regard to entrepreneurship, it's fascinating to be part of the Global Entrepreneurship Week. There has never been more opportunity for entrepreneurship than now. We have more computer processing power, more connectivity, more opportunity for viral word-of-mouth marketing than ever before, and we have more access to open source code than ever before. So when I joined the founding team of Zopa back in 2005, it's the world's first lending borrowing exchange. It seemed like a remarkable idea. It took us more than £20 million worth of investment to build the technology to enable people to lend and borrow money to and from one another. Today, you can build a similar platform. In fact, similar platforms have been built. One of them, I'm aware, the investment was £250,000. So it's 1,000th the cost that we invested. And that opportunity is democratizing entrepreneurship, and it's making it available to everybody. So what you need is determination, endeavour, you need an idea, and you need to have the conviction to actually follow it through. And that's in the context of possibly more disruption and instability than ever before. So in recent times we've had Brexit, last week we had the American election, and I just see them all as frankly opportunities. It's not because I'm just profoundly optimistic. I'm quite the opposite, really. I'm very pragmatic. It's that combination of technology and route to market that is a fantastic opportunity. One of the other reasons why I was very compelled by the introduction that you gave earlier is that I'm also very driven by the notion of inclusivity. So I think it's wonderful that this is being streamed. I think it's fantastic that it's being shared in other libraries across the country. I think one of the failings that we've had in the last few years is that digital innovation hasn't been inclusive enough and hasn't embraced the broader society. So I think that one of the things that we're seeing as a consequence of that is things like Brexit. So how could that be actually affected by entrepreneurs, the people in this room, and how might they actually reach out and be more participant in society generally? Well, some of the most amazing innovators in the UK right now, particularly in the context of retail, are businesses that don't even have a retail premise. So typically when people think about that, they think about brands like Amazon or maybe ASOS, big retail organisations. But I think that there's a whole swathe of really inventive businesses that are trading online, not on the highstreet.com, through to some really pioneering breakthrough areas of creativity. I don't know if any of you have heard of a business called lostmyname.com. Published children's books, a personalised book. It's a beautifully executed thing. It tells the story of a child who loses their name and meets a whole load of number of really inventive characters. And those characters actually spell out the child's name. It's a personalised printed book. So although it's a tangible physical thing, it's entirely digital. The whole process is digital. The execution is digital. And these are companies who are now hugely successful and trading all over the world. One of my favourite examples is a young guy called Joe Wicks. Has anybody heard of Joe? Joe Wicks? Apparently the ladies tell me he's very easy on the eye. I wouldn't be able to know. But his business is called The Body Coach. So Joe advises people on nutrition, and he's a qualified fitness instructor. So not long ago, literally 3 or 4 years ago, Joe, his typical week was training people in boot camps, i.e. in public parks, in open spaces near where I live. Good week, he'd do 20 to 30 people. Joe now actively trains 50,000 people all over the world every day. His business is turning over tens of millions, and it's employing a lot of people. Now, I haven't had a chance to catch up with Joe in the last few months, but I do know that he's taken an office near me. What's really interesting about that is Joe's business is on the first floor, not on the ground floor. And what I'm trying to compel businesses to think about is being on the ground floor. So 6 outlets is fantastic. Because actually there's an opportunity for him to have people who are able to advise real-time in shops, interestingly, and they don't need to be distant to him. Technology enables for them to be really intimately connected with him every day in every way. There's fantastic tools available, whether it's software like Slack or Facebook's new version of that, which is called Workplace. There's brilliant ways of being really connected, intimately connected with all your colleagues in a virtual way that's as though you were in the same room. So imagine the impact if every high street, or not every high street, but if a number of high streets across the UK had multiple outlets from these amazing digital businesses, whether that's Amazon or whether or not it's the Body Coach, whether or not it's these really inventive businesses. Imagine if not on the high street, was on the high street. How cool would that be? Perhaps people wouldn't feel that technology, that innovation, that digital, that this online world was such a distant thing from them. Perhaps they'd actually feel that it was part of them, part of their community, and offering them opportunities as well. So it's turbulent times in which we live, and I'm wanting for your businesses to be successful. If I were to characterise the repeat behaviour of common to successful entrepreneurs, the one thing that is most powerful is focus, which is really hard to advise people on, because it's a bit like you telling me to be a bit more funny. It's sort of, I get it, but it's hard to do, right? So the practical way that I help businesses and entrepreneurs to transition to be more focused is this concept that I call the MPA, the most powerful action. Singularly, what's the most powerful action that will move your business forward furthest? Now, what's interesting is when you ask people, often they can't actually answer what that thing is, because they'll have a list of typically 28 things. But when you sit down with them and actually really inquire about it. And I'm including FTSE 100 boards here, by the way. In fact, even global FTSE 100 boards. What's really surprising is often in less than 37 minutes, I don't know why it takes that long, but anyway, they come up with it, because often it's not actually that hard to identify. So then everybody has a big sigh of relief. We all go out and have a coffee and come back into the room for another inconvenient inquiry, which is, okay, so if now we've identified this thing, who amongst you is actually going to deliver it? Well, you get all kinds of a kerfuffle where everybody points at one another, thinking and assuming that somebody else is accountable for it. So really it's about identifying that thing and honing down on it and not allowing yourself to be distracted is singularly the thing that I see most powerful. Now, there are loads of other techniques I can share. I'm mindful of the time, in fact, we're running over. I don't know if that's of any use to you, but it's a start. Is that all right? Cool.
Thank you, Simon. Come and sit down. And is the body we see honed by the body coach? Is that too much information?
I really follow I don't subscribe to it, if I'm honest, because I've been into sport for such a long time. I would train every day.
Yeah.
So Joe could probably take my thing to another level, but he's so busy now anyway.
Yeah. Well, you sound like you're very busy as well. If we've got entrepreneurs out there, or people who've already got a business idea but want to take it to the next level, or people who are looking to set up a business, what is the best way that they should go about raising money? So putting themselves out there with a good business plan and attracting of investors.
Firstly, know your market. So that's fundamental. Know who your competitors are. What's the problem that you're solving? So what's the reason for your business? And understand and be able to articulate in a powerful, compelling way how your business is different. So what's your differentiator and how does that work? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I should have said when I was on the lectern, which is for me now, it's almost inexcusable to, A, not be online, but B, to not have tested your proposition effectively in an online way. So you'll probably be very familiar with the concept of minimum viable product. There are lots of ways for you to physically go out and be live without necessarily taking the substantial risk that Helen took in terms of leasing a shop. It's a massive commitment. And I think now in securing funding, whether that's via equity, so selling a part of your business to get investment, or through debt in offering some kind of guarantee, what all investors want to see is traction. They want to see that you've got more than just an idea, that you're able to materialise it. And the best way of doing that is to have a website and to start that journey. And worry less about polishing your logo and worry more about how you're going to make sales.
And how about crowdfunding campaigns? I mean, what's your thought on that? Is that a fad, or is that something here to stay? And is it sustainable? Is it a good idea?
So there are a lot of mixed opinions about crowdfunding. And obviously, being one of the founders of Zopa, we helped coin the expression fintech before fintech had ever been invented. I'm clearly a big fan of it. So specifically, the first thing is that there is... in early stage venturing, the availability of money has always been very tumultuous. There's always fluctuating in terms of liquidity. Right now is a very difficult time. So if you're trying to raise money right now, particularly through equity, it's a tough time. So even as recently as 14 months ago, it was quite a liquid market, and right now it's very difficult. In terms of crowdfunding, I think it provides a vital component to that ecosystem. The incumbents don't like it. So the traditional angel investment community and many other financial institutions don't like it. And the reason they don't like it is because it constitutes competition generally, and it inflates prices. And it also brings, from their point of view, a lack of expertise into the market. I see it differently. I see it as a vital source of liquidity. I see it as an opportunity for people to invest more than just money, but also expertise, smart money. I see it providing a gap for early stage ventures that actually, the truth is, I don't want the big banks to do, because a part of this requires intuitive gut feel. Who would have thought in 2005 that 1.5 billion people a day would use Facebook, right? So do you want your big banks, your big high street banks, your Lloyds Bank, your HSBC, your RBS, taking a punt on loads of early stage? I don't think that's a great idea, personally. But if a high net worth individual who happens to have a huge amount of money in their bank account wants to invest £10,000 in an SCIS investment into an early stage venture, and they're prepared to take the risk on that, I think that's perfectly legitimate, you know. And I don't want to see that fall over. I think if it falls over, if one of the big crowdfunders were to get into difficulty, I think it would just be very detrimental.
Yeah. And just finally, the digital revolution that you've mentioned, if people are looking to start a business, there's so many bits and pieces in the digital revolution that they should possibly use as part of their business. So where should they actually start? Which bits of the digital apps and websites should they use?
I always start exactly the same way. So I have a blog called Tall Man Business. It's obviously because you have to be tall to be successful. Clearly a genius in marketing as well. And I wrote a blog ages ago about the 5 steps that I take. And the first one is, it may sound kind of really trivial, but the first one I come up with in my journey on digital is to come up with a business name. And then to search it online to see whether or not you can buy the domain name, preferably the .com, but if you can't, the .co.uk. And if they've all gone and everything related to it has gone, invent another name. And that's my number one starting point. And it's not true that all the good domains have gone. What's challenging, and the issue or the challenge that it represents, is being inventive in coming up with something that's quite distinctive that you can own. And don't bother buying all of them. So back in the day, if I had a really, this is the next, this is the next Facebook. I used to, on one occasion, bought every domain in that area. I don't do that anymore.
Even the .eu? Even
the .eu. Now, I just buy one. Literally one and no more. And that's it. And I don't collect, I'm not a serial collector of domains. In fact, my entire portfolio is probably only about 15 or 16.
I feel a bit guilty now. I've got quite a few of them, actually. On the do list, is it to get rid of a few of them?
Parts on them.
Yes.
And I just think, what's interesting is if you then actually materialise one of them into a business, as that starts to land, then you can go and buy them all. But why would you incur all the cost? And when they say it only costs £2 each, they do only cost £2 each until you get all the renewals through, and then it can start adding up quite quickly.
Yeah, indeed. OK, well, further thoughts from you during the Q&A session. In the meantime, Simon Devonshire, everyone.